Parashat Shlach, to send, God telling Moshe, send messengers, send emissaries, send people that will visit the land of Israel. They will visit the land of Israel to see how is it the land, what is it the land, and they will come back. Now, we all know the story. The story was that they came to the land of Israel, they saw it, they came back, they started describing it, and then told the Jewish nation that we are in a big problem. We cannot enter the land of Israel. And the Jewish people believed them that it's very difficult to go inside, to enter the promised land. And they all cried, wanted to go back, until they realized their sin, that they didn't believe, and they were punished to stay in the desert for 40 years until the generation will end and be replaced with a new generation that will enter the land of Israel by the new leader, Yehoshua. Few details, many details we have to discuss. I would ask some questions. First of all, how come the people that Moshe chose to be the emissaries, to be the messengers, to be the spies that Moshe sent to the land of Israel, he chose great people. The Torah said it clearly. Rashei Bnei Israel, leaders of the Jewish nation. And how come they all did such a mistake? Of course, except Yehoshua, Moshe's student, and Caleb, the leader, two leaders that didn't sin and of course entered the land of Israel. And so the first question is, how come they did such a mistake? Second question would be, of course, how come the Jewish people believed in this mistake? Another topic we can talk about is how come why Yehoshua and Caleb did not sin. What was different by them? Before we continue this topic, I want to say a short introduction about Torah learning. So Torah learning, it's not as Bible learning or Old Testament learning. It's totally different. We as Jewish people know that the Torah was given to us by God. This is the first thing. Torah given by us from God, that means that it was not given for the first generation that received it. It was given for eternity. As we all know that the strength of Jewish nation is their eternity view. They're not looking about today, only today. They know their history well, and they know their future. Meaning, we all know that we are a nation forever, and we are an example for the nation how to survive. So the Torah is eternal teachings. Eternal teachings, it doesn't mean that each and every one would open the book of Torah, the Bible, and try to explain it to himself by his own language. Why is that? Because the Torah was not given only a book. The Torah was given with explanations. The explanation was given, the first explanations to the Jewish nation, what is written in the book, was given by Moshe. Moshe, the leader, did not give only written Torah, he gave also explanations to the Torah. From explanation, what is tefillin, how it's look like, or explanation how to observe Shabbat, or explanation what does that mean to slaughter, and so on and so forth. There is no actually one mitzvah that you can book the Torah, you can open the book of Torah to read it and to understand how to do it. No one mitzvah. Even the most important and basic and daily mitzvot that we're doing every day, or the most fundamental mitzvot of Jewish nation, there is no one mitzvah that we can understand from the written Torah how to do it. Not circumcision, not slaughtering animal. Why? Because the Torah is half, and the other half is the oral Torah, that this is the explanation of the written Torah. Now, the oral Torah is divided to many parts, and we cannot talk about all the parts of oral Torah in this moment. But some of the parts came directly from Moshe, the explanation. For example, it's written something in the written Torah. How we know how to read it? How we know if it means exactly what it means in our mind? For example, there is the word in Hebrew chalav. Chalav, it's milk. When the Torah said, do not eat a baby cow, a kid with his mother's chalav, milk, we know this is the commandment of any meat with milk. But who knows that it's milk? Maybe it's chelev, not chalav. That chelev, it's fat. Maybe the Torah talking about fat. For example, so only even to read the words, we need the tradition, the oral tradition. So the oral tradition was given by Moshe to the leaders. As the Rambam described, we know exactly who were the leaders in every generation. We know them by name. We know many of their teachings. We know all the leaders that pass on the tradition of the Torah to the generations. And with the tradition came rules how to add new explanations, how to apply the ideas of the Torah to new situations, how to use the wisdom of Torah and to apply it to our daily life. So it's a mission for us to learn Torah in the traditional way to apply it to our lives. This is very important because if every person saying his own explanations in Torah, we can be far from the written text, because it's, after all, it's a text of one language, not translation. I mean, we can use the translation, but it's not the original. And even the original, it's 3,000 years old in the physical way. So how come we can open a book that it's translation of a book of 3,000 years old and say the explanation for ourselves? We don't know the way of its writing, the rules of its writing. It's only by tradition we can use the traditional way of learning it and to apply it to our lives. So that was general introduction to how to learn Torah in the right way. And the oral Torah is a very long topic and very important. There is the matter of halacha, the matter of rabbinical court, what they can decide, what they can add, what they can change, what in their power. It's all coming from the written Torah, and we need to talk about it in some, we will have opportunity, hopefully, B'ezrat Hashem. Now, about the questions that we asked. So if we will explain the question more simple, we're talking about a nation that saw the 10 plagues coming upon Egypt. We saw the nation that saw the splitting of the sea, the receiving of the Torah. And they saying that we cannot enter the land of Israel. Why? Because they are very strong. Egypt was maybe stronger. Or even if it's not stronger, how come you say, no, they are different? What was different by them? Why can God win the war against Egypt, but not against the land of Israel, the land of Canaan, that the nations live in there? And how come all the Jewish nation believed them? So the answer for that would be, if we understand what does that mean to go inside Israel. To enter Israel, it doesn't mean only to go from the desert to Israel. It means also, and they understood, that it means also change of mindset. Our mindset till today was mindset of miracles. We received food from God daily, the man. We received water from the traveling well of Miriam. We were surrounded by clouds. We saw the receiving of the Torah, the splitting of the sea. The Jewish nation knew that to enter the land of Israel, it means that we have specific land. Why we have a land? To work in it, to implant fruits and vegetables, and to do business, and to have army, and to have courts, and to have king. This is how the Torah wanted that the Jews will live in the world, not separated in the clouds in the desert, to live inside the land. So if we doing this work and living inside Israel, so it means that there is no miracles. So if there's no miracles, we cannot win this war. We cannot win the war against them without miracles. So they understood that entering Israel, it means no more miracles, no more splitting of the sea. And they, of course, they were right. The idea of enter Israel is to work inside nature. But they didn't know all the story. The story goes. God's purpose is that He would reveal His power inside nature, not only outside. The splitting of the sea was a miracle. It's a wonder above nature. The 10 plagues and the receiving of the Torah and the clouds and the man, this is absolutely wonderful outside nature. But it doesn't mean that God is not doing miracles inside nature. God is managing the world also in its natural state. The natural state was created by God. So God can navigate and do His miracles in the same idea of Purim. For example, that we all know that Purim, the name of God, is not mentioned because it was absolutely natural. But it was a great wonder, a great miracle. So that they didn't know. This is their mistake. But how come Moshe sending the greatest people in the nation and they came to this bad situation that did such a sin, not believe in the power of God, not believe so we will go a bit deeper. The mistake was a bit deeper in their understanding of the situation. Why Moshe sent them and what they understood. Moshe sent them to see the land. Why Moshe sent them to see the land? What was important by it? Why, if God going to do miracles, why it's important to send them to the promised land? They understood because there is no more miracles. We need to see how to conquer this place. We need to check. Moshe absolutely did not mean this idea. Moshe meant you're going to see the land, not to be spy, to be tourists, not to be spy. Spy always conspired what is the best way to conquer. This is not your mission. Your mission is to see the land. Why we should see the land? Because God wants the Jewish people to feel the desire, to feel the need, to feel the purpose, to feel the next step, to be ready for it. Because the promised land, as we said, it's about nature. You should work on it. You should feel it. You should belong to the land. You should have your own connection with the promised land. So that's why Moshe is sending some tourists to see the land, to look on these good points, to see how the fruits are, the cities are, they are strong, they are not strong. And then to come back, tell the Jewish nation, we're going to go inside the land. And there is enormous people, giants there. But God going to do His miracles. But to prepare them for the land, because it should be something with nature, not like the Jewish people came to the Red Sea and they don't know what's going to be the next step, and then God suddenly splitting the sea for two, and they understand that they must go. No, that should be in a different approach now. The promised land, it should be inside nature. Of course, God would do His miracle. So Moshe sent them to be like tourists. They understood we should be spies to check out if we can or we can't, and then they said their conclusion that we can't. So they were not hearing closely the words of Moshe. They heard what they want to hear, not what Moshe meant. And this is the difference between the two students that did not sin, Yehoshua and Caleb. Yehoshua was the student of Moshe, that Moshe took care of him and changed his personality, that he will be a different man. He will be a person that will understand the main purpose of this mission and the purpose of mitzvot and the purpose how it's of the direction of the Jewish nation. To live in nature, but to be connected also to above nature, not nature separated from spirituality. This is the purpose of Israel. That will be miracles also after. And he understood it because he was close to Moshe. He was listening carefully to his leader. He did not try to hear what he wants to hear. He was close to him. And the same thing with Caleb, that he was a close student, devoted student of Moshe. He was not a person for itself, so for himself. What we learn from it? If you are a great person, it's good. All the messengers that came to the land of Israel were great, were leaders, were deserving people. But in the end of the day, they felt that they are people of their own. They didn't feel the mission. They didn't feel the connection of to the prophet. Moshe was a prophet. He was not a leader only. He was a person that had this connection with God, as we learned last week, that God said that Moshe is a person that can speak to me face to face. It means that if there is such a holy person, that his way of life is holy, so you should listen carefully what he's saying. It's not enough to be a great person for yourself. You should be also a receiver from the holy person. And when they missed that, so they didn't listen closely to what Moshe said, and they understood what they want to understand about the land of Israel, and about the way of life that's going to be in Israel. In the end of the story, all the Jewish nation sinned because of this. This is one thing that we can learn from it. Shabbat Shalom. Good and happy news to all the Jewish community all around the world. Shabbat Shalom.